Good afternoon. I am Dr. Kalinda Eaton, and I have the pleasure of leading a conversation today with three more examples of student excellence at the University of Oklahoma. I am joined today by Jamila Reed, Jordan Johnson, and Joy Bell Douglas. I will now ask them to introduce themselves.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jamila Reed. My pronouns are she, they. I am a senior African and African American Studies major from Houston, Texas. And it's a pleasure to be here with you all.
Hello, everyone. My name is Joy Bell Douglas. I'm a senior majoring in Women and Gender Studies and African American Studies with a minor in dance history. And I'm from Oklahoma City, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. And I'm so delighted to be here today.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jordan Johnson. I am a senior with majoring in history and African American Studies, and I am from Abbeville, Oklahoma.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining me on this late April day. I know it's the end of the semester and you probably have a lot going on, but I'm glad that you're here because I think it's important for all of us to talk about, for members of the local community, student community, to reflect on the Tulsa Race Massacre. So the first question I have for you is, when we're thinking about Black Wall Street, right? So even before we get to the events on May 31st, 1921, I want to know, as you're sitting here now in this current moment, what does the success of Black Wall Street symbolize or mean to you?
I think it means a lot. So understanding history in Oklahoma, we know that right after Reconstruction, Black people were given the opportunity for a very short time to become somewhat equivalent, especially economically, to their white counterparts. And so Black Wall Street is very, very special because you get to see this long glimpse of what it would look like if people were given reparations or economically advantaged or given the same chance. And that's kind of what it makes it so depressing and so saddening when we see the destruction of it, is because now we understand that the impact of economic opportunities as you compare to the other counterparts who didn't have that chance.
I also, going off of what Jamila said, it definitely symbolizes the resilience of Black people, and it shows how much they can really make for themselves when given not even that much, because even though we saw how glamorous and how beautiful Black Wall Street was before it got destroyed, it was still something that they built for themselves on their own without help from any other place. And it shows how, with you building economic wealth within your communities, how much you can do for yourself and how much you don't benefit honestly from going out and buying from other places and purchasing from other people. You can really build that wealth within your community, and seeing how that was just an amazing example of that. So it was just really it's very, very heartbreaking, as she said, just to know how that was just destroyed in the blink of an eye. And it was like people turned a blind eye to it with how much work was actually put into that to make it what it was.
Okay.
So going off what Joy and Jamila said, I find that the success of Black Wall Street signifies the blood, sweat, and tears of those who were formerly enslaved, or at least their parents were formerly enslaved. And it shows the determination that they had in order to compete and go above what many thought they would be able to. Because it truly saddens me when seeing the destruction of Black Wall Street, seeing all the years of hard work, determination, and sweat and tears go to waste in a matter of 12 hours. It's truly just saddening.
So we're here almost at the exact date of the Centennial, right? We're a little bit of over a month out. So why do you think it's so important for America to turn its eyes, right, to this particular history and also histories like it, right, at this moment in 2021?
I mean, I think that just goes into the foundation of what African American Studies is telling the true history, not just the history we want to hear, the history that we want to be taught in textbooks, not just the successes, but the whole history of America. We are America too. We built this on our backs and are trying to get the same equitable justice. And so for us, especially in this now and age, to say, Black Lives Matter, we find you equal and equitable and trying to make that change, you first need to acknowledge the history behind it. Not only that, acknowledge the history, but do the work so that we have a chance today. I mean, Black Wall Street, burned away over 100 years ago. Let's look at the descendants. Where are they now? What would have happened if Black Wall Street stayed? And that's what we need to look forward to and look and see, how can we make this better? How can we make Tulsa better? And how can we make it better for those descendants that live today in those cities?
What's the importance of the moment today?
As a Black business owner myself and knowing a lot of Black business owners, it's very, very important to kind of like show an example of something to where we've been seen being successful before. When you look at business in the aspect of like who is at the top and who is at the bottom, a lot of times there are a lot of creators and producers at the bottom that are Black people, but you don't see those same people in the top corporations. And knowing that we have a history of that business mindset, we have a history of building things on our own, making our own economy, and just like kind of like producing for ourselves. Knowing that as a Black business owner gives me more like strength and gives me more push to like not want to give up when I'm not seeing sales. And I know that that encourages a lot of other people that are in the business sector, in a place where they're trying to build economic or generational wealth for themselves, for their families, for Black people overall, to kind of give us a like leverage in this America that we live in. Because let's face it, we all know that America is a place that was not built for our success. So to see us continuing on, that is a continuation of seeing like the resilience that they had back then. It's still in us, and it will continue to be here, and it'll continue to push us forward.
So I have a question. So two of you are from Oklahoma, right? And then one from Texas. So when did you first learn about Black Wall Street, the Tulsa Race Massacre, one or both? Was it K through 12 or?
Well, one time actually, and it came up. I went to a predominantly Black and Hispanic high school, and so one of the young ladies actually had family. Two of the young ladies had family from Oklahoma, and we were supposed to talk about an event in Black history that's not spoken about a lot. And she actually talked about it. She talked about Black Wall Street, how there's Black wealth, and how she wanted to actually become a business owner and is now, and how the impact of Black Wall Street and how it wasn't, how they're trying to rebuild it as to why it was taken away.
Okay. What about the rest of you?
Okay, so for me, so in Oklahoma, a part of Oklahoma curriculum is having to take an Oklahoma history course. And so I took that in high school. I think it was either my freshman or sophomore year. And the crazy thing about it is that when it was first presented to me in school, they called it the Tulsa Race Riot. So in my head, I had this vivid picture of just like Black people and white people going at it because they're trying to fight for equality and trying to fight for equity. And when I came to college, I actually learned about the actual story in my first AFAM class, my sophomore year of college. And so going from being a freshman in high school all the way through thinking that I knew what the Tulsa Race Riot was, and actually learning that it was a Tulsa Race Massacre, and it was nothing like I learned in high school, was really like eye-opening for me. So I guess I would say I learned about it originally in high school, but it was a very whitewashed story. And then when I got to college is when I heard the truth.
Right. I mean, and just in terms of the terminology, right? So I mean, for many years, and even those who were survivors, right, still called it the riot. And so then there's been the shifting, right? And when the term changed, some people argue that it's to more accurately represent exactly what happened, right? Because we have a very different way of understanding riots as we do, understanding massacres.
Yes, and whenever I first found out about it, I was a senior in high school. It was an Oklahoma history class, but it was just skimmed over slightly. It wasn't even talked about in detail. But when I first truly learned about it, I was a freshman in college, and one of my first AFAM classes, when I saw what had really happened, I was very distraught. I didn't realize that something like this could happen in America to people that they're so-called supposed to protect. So it made me very distraught just seeing the history and how it really unfolded.
Okay, so I'm sure you know that things have changed a bit, and so it will be actually taught in public schools in Oklahoma in a way that's a bit more intentional, right? And hopefully not this glossing over. What do you say to those who think that some of these types of histories, right, especially those that highlight atrocities or massacres, a lot of death, right, should not be introduced to children, say in K through 12?
So for me, just putting this out there very plainly and very blatantly, I learned about the Holocaust when I was in 6th grade. If you want to talk about how there are atrocities that shouldn't be learned about, it's always in pertinence to atrocities that happen to communities of color, but never when we're talking about communities that are predominantly white. So when you're learning about the Holocaust, you're learning about World War II, you're learning about World War I, any of those things that you're learning about, or even let's say like the Cold War, when it's a part of history where it has been created in a way to make the majority, which in this case would be the white people that are fighting in the wars, look a certain way, we'll get taught that. But then when you hear the flip side of the war and like how this was not actually what happened, and you actually learn the true history of it, why would you be teaching a lie to children so they can go through their whole life thinking that this place is this perfect situation and has this perfect example of like what it means to be a patriot, what it means to have liberty, and then you end up learning that everything is like a false, it's just propaganda. So there needs to be a push for real news, real understanding, real truth to be taught so that children can grow up understanding what the world is and they can have a better outlook on life and not have all of these kind of like new kind of like epiphanies when they get into spaces where they actually learn the truth. Because as a kid, you go through school and you will like make different friends, have people of different backgrounds, have people of every race, religion, creed, everything like that. And if you go through that and you're learning about their history wrongly, you don't know how to actually like connect with that person. You don't know the truth about them. And then when they actually tell you, you're just sitting there like, wow, I learned this from a kid that I went to school with. I learned this from one of my friends, not from my teacher that was teaching me history that doesn't even honestly exist, or that's very, very abridged, for lack of a better term.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with what Joy said. And even going off that, I think so oftentimes in America, we find this, we want to make America so pretty. And so we want to make America this pristine place, but in actuality, it's horrid. It's in a history that is full of just massacres, honestly, whether it be the Tulsa race massacre or what's been done to the Native community since Columbus decided he thought this was the place to be. So with that being said, again, like Joy said, like we teach this history, and then you can even say now in our political sphere and how divisive America is now, we failed to educate so well, we failed to teach people how to see what's real and what's not. And so we failed to do people like that, we have division in our country. And so now we are failing to even see each other as human because we can't even decipher what's the truth and what's not the truth. And so it's very important, even if it is as children. I mean, I think of it as this: a white child would never have to really understand the matters of race like a Black child does. By the age of 3, I already knew I had to interact with cops a different way. My white counterparts never had that experience. So to say, oh, I don't want to teach children about killings and massacre, well, society teaches me at 3 years old, you have to carry yourself a different way. You need to make sure you have your receipt in your hand when you leave this restaurant so they don't think you're stealing. So I don't think it's a matter of convenience. I think it's a matter of, if we want our society to be greater, we need to start educating ourselves a lot better than we are now.
Yes, and I wholeheartedly support the education of the Tulsa Race Massacre in K through 12, because if you don't teach these children at a younger age, it opens them up to denial. You see this with the Holocaust, you see this with any other tragedy that's ever happened in human history. There's always the, well, it didn't really happen. It's always somebody trying to do that. But once you are able to educate them through the correct way at the first time, then you're able to give a more concise reasoning, so it'll be less of that in the world. Right?
Okay, thank you. So a large part of the symposium here at OU is focused on the arts and humanities. And one could argue that another way of educating the public is through popular culture, right? Have any of you seen any of the more recent popular culture references to the Tulsa Race Massacre and or Black Wall Street? I'm thinking about Lovecraft Country and Watchmen and what have you. Have any of you seen those?
Yes.
Yes.
What are your thoughts about, I'm not asking you to be a film critic, I'm just asking you, just kind of what are your thoughts about the ways in which the representation, I guess, came off, and what about the response to it from the public?
Yes, the way I see it is, whenever you put it into a popular media context, that you truly see the horror of what's going on. Because the problem with things happening so long ago, you can't really picture it. But things with like going as far back as the Holocaust in 1945 and the civil rights movement in 1965. These things were filmed so people get a different context of what's happening. So it's very important that art is portrayed in popular culture.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it started a lot of conversations, and I mean on different levels. For example, Watchmen, they had it where if you were a descendant, the government was saying, "Oh, we owe you reparations," and that started up a whole new discussion. And we're not going to get to that today, but that's a whole different discussion. And then when you had it with Lovecraft Country, that you saw the timeline of Black history. So you see a guy coming from the Korean War whose father lived in Tulsa but went to Chicago to escape what was going on, and to see that and just see that perspective, and then see like how they're taking like the Booker T. Washington. Oh, that was prom night, and all these things are going on.
Oh, the high school. Mhm.
Yeah, like just taking it in that many perspectives, because many of the survivors today are alumni of Booker T. And
Right.
Booker T still lives on today. Shout out to Booker T. But you see it in this perspective, like this didn't happen that long ago.
Right.
And so
right.
I think people like don't understand, like 100 years in our time is not that long. And so now you see like, oh, like that's my grandma, that's my grandpa, that's my great grandma, great grandpa. But those people are still alive today. And you get to see like that, like what's happening. Just because it's in black and white doesn't mean it happened so long ago.
Right.
Then we still have some color pictures of that stuff. So like now you're saying like, oh my God, like this basically happened yesterday, and y'all didn't tell me about it for this long. So I think it brought some light to it.
One thing that you just mentioned about with Lovecraft Country, the fact that you don't really know, at least in the television version of it, right? You don't really know that history, that tie-in to Tulsa until you're much further into the series. And so then it's like taking you back, and then you do actually think about, as you mentioned, get to think about the out-migration. Not everybody left, of course, but there were a lot of people who did move, and they took those stories with them, right? And they took that experience with them, and we're still dealing with that in other spaces.
For sure, like with that, it just gives you it gives you a frame of reference that is so easily like connected to. Let's say that because I don't know if connectable is a word. But anyway, it gives you a frame of reference that's easily connected to. And when you're in shows that are portrayed that are kind of like family oriented, where a kid could watch that and kind of like see like a realistic version, because one thing that I can appreciate about Lovecraft Country is that it shows things in a way that I finally feel like I'm depicted in a way that's not showing so much trauma, that's not showing so much horror, that's just showing me in a way like I'm just going through life and I'm experiencing life. So of course it's not like you're not getting rid of like that whole aspect of bad things happening, but it's just a realistic outlook on what things could be, obviously with a little bit of like the sci-fi mixed in, which makes it so much nicer because you don't really see Black characters in that space. And so just seeing that in reference to what people are going to learn, and also in reference to the timeline of like how, what Jamila was also saying, like how it's set in a framework where you understand like this happened during this time, this was this amount of years ago. It just makes it so much easier to understand.
Okay, so another generational question. So I was asking you why, in the beginning, why it's so important, I guess, for America to turn its eyes to this history at this moment. So I want to kind of bring that into kind of a very specific generational question. And what do you think your generation is thinking about this moment?
I mean, I see it on social media all the time. It's just like, y'all had us, y'all thought y'all had us, but let me tell you what we're not gonna do, we're gonna keep doing, is keep that resilience, like Joyce said. Like for example, Little Fires in Africa is doing a wonderful job, and they just got a
It's a CD coming out.
Yeah.
I said CD, I'm dating myself.
Yeah, no, it's an album coming out with Motown Records, coming out with anniversary. And I know Dr. View, who is actually alumni of OU's doctor program, he has worked on that for a long time. And so being able to see, okay, I'm not gonna only try to reinvent this generational wealth, not only am I gonna reinvent this, okay, I'm gonna support Black businesses that we've saw through the past summer with Black Lives Matter and like being in the pandemic. I'm going to tell you about it, sing about it, and then make money off of it so I can rebuild it myself. You know what I'm saying? And so seeing that type of resilience, over 100 years, and now we're like, all right, y'all had us the first half. Let me show you what we really can do. Yes. And it's being able to build back up. And that's just so much history just within Black history, just like, okay, y'all thought y'all had us. Well, I'm gonna have to do it again. and don't try to burn it down this time, because now we know which I'm gonna come to.
There have been a lot of conversations. I mean, let me back up. There have always been conversations about entrepreneurship and examples, right, all throughout history, especially within the African American community. But I have noticed lately, like within the past 2 to 3 years, there have been a lot more. As you said, you're a business owner. So what are you hearing in terms of your generation? Are you hearing more conversation about the business aspect of it, or would you say it's something else?
I feel like I hear more about the business aspect, honestly. It's more so about like trying to, because, okay, so there's kind of like this narrative painted that like there's too many of us doing the same thing. If there was too many of us doing the same thing, how do we have Maybelline, Revlon, Neutrogena, all of these companies that do the same exact thing, but they are sold in the same section in Walmart, Target, all of your big places. And even when we're talking about these big places, Walmart, Target, Costco, you name it, it exists. So there are all these like establishments that are being built by these people. Why is there not space for us? Why do you feel like there's not a place for you to also be able to build generational wealth and build economic wealth and teach about it? So that's a big tenet for me. I don't only do business because I'm trying to make money. I'm doing this because I want to teach other people how to be able to do this, so that when I'm gone, I leave a legacy of people that know that because of her, I did this, because I saw this, I ran with this. And now we have billionaires and millionaires that are Black people that never gave up, even though they felt like this market was oversaturated, because this is a narrative that's being proliferated to keep us from reaching our full potential and going back to where we came from and actually doing what we can do, going back to that thing, being resilient and pushing through and making sure that we're okay. We did not choose to be in this place. They brought us here. So we are going to work this place and make it somewhere that we are going to be able to survive, and make it somewhere that our children will thrive, and make it somewhere to where we won't ever have to worry about Black or white. It'll just be us existing as people, because this is what it should have been from the get-go.
Yes, I feel that just the history of it made people hard people, and also just wanting to seeing Black Wall Street gave a lot of people, I want to build my own Black Wall Street. I want to help my own people. I want people to be able to live and support themselves and their families. So it's very important to keep that spirit alive in our community and expand it out to the broader community as well.
So I guess a final question here would be, in your community, whether that be your online community, right, your social media community, your home community, whether it be your educational community, whatever the case may be, your academic community, what can we leave with, say, I guess, on a positive note in terms of what's happening, what you see, in these respective streets, right? In terms of like, what do you see happening aside from, say, maybe what you've already mentioned as it relates to, entrepreneurship, but are there other things you want to share with our audience about just kind of, how you feel about, moving into 2022?
Yeah, I think I'm most definitely inspired, not just by what's happened before, but what's about to happen next. I think I second what Joy says for entrepreneurship. My skincare line is Black, that I use Summer Skin. The Black beauty shop on campus, like I can go to and get my Black hair products or Black owned. Like being able to sit here and say, like, although we do not have a permanent Black business in Norman, that there's enough Black people in Norman who have side businesses that I don't have to go to Amazon to buy from. Not only that, they sell Black products. So now that money stays circulating in my community and staying along. But not with that, but the activism. So being able to see like BLM OKC, working hard, and then across the state is OK Stand United. And even here, as part of the Black Emergency Response Team, and we see a new generation of people coming up, right? Being able to sit here and say, we're not giving up. Like you've tried it multiple times, but we're not gonna give up. And even seeing the APM department here, being able to sit here and say, we will teach this class. We will continue to teach this class because it needs to be here. And that's just the resilience that lives on. It doesn't have to be these grand marches all the time. It's being able to say, I have Dr. Eden in my class who encourages me to continue going on to higher education. It's being able to see Joy continuing to do entrepreneurship or whatever endeavor, seeing these people know this resilience as I've seen them do it before me. I'm gonna do it again so somebody else can say, I've seen her do it, I'm gonna do it as well. And being able to make places and spaces where we have yet to create but also those that exist now, knowing that we can be in these places and be successful.
Yes, I feel that all this happening is making it to where people want to be able to build the community more and have, like when it comes to higher education, to be our ancestors' wildest dreams in terms, because when they couldn't read, when they couldn't write, when they weren't allowed to, when they were killed to do it, I believe that that plus what happened in Black Wall Street and everywhere else in the United States when it came to Black towns, Black businesses, and so forth and so on, that it makes people inspired in order to create a better future for themselves, for their kids, and specifically their grandkids also.
Definitely so. My streets are the social media. So that's where I reside. That's where the money resides.
where the money
That is an
resides.
amazing
Money
place to be. But that has also been the greatest change maker for literally everything. Like you can go on social media and have access to everything that you need to have access to, but seeing the amazing activism of greater organizations and even like smaller grassroots organizations coming together and building that allegiance and making that promise to each other to make sure that I see you, you see me, we're going to see each other and we're going to support each other and continue to move forward and making sure that I'm going to make sure your voice is amplified as well as you're making sure that my voice is amplified. And I feel like as a Black community, doing that in a way that we continue to grow and continue to push forward, not necessarily an agenda, but push forward things that we need to make sure get done for each other as well as for ourselves, is going to continue making this exponential growth happen. And like Jamila said, I am so excited to see what happens in the future, because with our generation, we were not necessarily afraid, but we were a little nervous at first. But once we got ready, we were just like, okay, so here's what's gonna happen. And so this next generation, they were never scared. They started out saying so racism, and they knew from jump like how things go, how they want to function, and what they're not going to tolerate. It like literally fills me with so much joy and so much happiness when I see kids that are in 6th, 7th grade telling me about systematic oppression and asking me about things that I'm learning in my college courses and telling me about things that they've learned and telling me about how they had to correct their teacher when they were teaching about slavery wrong. And so knowing that there's so much knowledge and there's so much like growth that's going to happen and they just have so much in them to continue to push forward, is just like, it gives you chills because you know that this is going to change. By force or by fire, it's going to change. Like there's nothing's going to stay the same with the way that these generations are growing up and knowing like we have a space here and we're not going to let you kick us out. And that's that. Period.
That's good to hear, because there's a lot of conversation, right, about how we're kind of hopeless at this moment, right, as a nation, okay? But at the same time, we don't often have these conversations with people who are seeing the hope, right? And so we can talk about it, we can have the catchphrases or what have you, but actually what you're talking about is interacting with people, you know, at your level, at levels below you, on the street, whatever the case may be, and saying, you know, we're going to move forward, we're going to progress, and we're going to make this nation as a whole better than it was, you know, even, and you all are not that old, but even when you came in, right? So that's exciting to hear. I want to thank you all for spending some time this afternoon. I know we're about to move into finals week pretty soon, and it's winding down, and I think some of you all are graduating and kind of looking at that door, you know, so.
Right in front of us.
Yeah, so thank you very much. And I hope that the rest of the symposium can, you know, be as fruitful and as exciting as we think about all the different ways that this subject matter affects us on a daily basis.